Hello everyone! We are moving on to a brand new lesson. This lesson is also going to take us a few weeks. I'll be creating at least 2 or 3 videos for this project. Okay, so we're going to be making a collagraph. If you want to practice saying that right now, you can. It's called a collagraph. Okay, and this is how you spell it. So collagraph, and I'll read the definition to you. So it's a basic method of printmaking using a board with collage materials glued onto it to form a relief surface with a variety of textures. Okay, so this is a printmaking technique. Some of you have done printmaking with me in class before. So printmaking is where you have it's a process where you can make multiple copies from one printing matrix. So think of it like a stamp. If I have a stamp and I dip it in ink, I can stamp the stamp multiple times because there's a raised design on the stamp. Okay, so in artist terms, artists call that raised surface a relief. Okay, so when you think of relief, and I'm going to be saying relief a lot, think of raised surface. Okay, so we're going to be making a collagraph. Okay, so you're going to need to gather some of these supplies, and I'm going to hold up the supply list. And you're going to need to start gathering some collage-like materials. Any kind of scrap will do. So here's what we need for our project. I'm going to hold this up for a few seconds if you want to pause. Okay, so first thing we're going to need is glue. You can use white glue or a glue stick. Wood glue, any type of glue would work. I am going to be using, I thought I had white glue, but I don't. I'm going to be using Mod Podge. And I'm going to be using a brush to brush on the glue. I also have some wood glue here. So any type of glue will work for this, but you do need glue. And then the next thing you're going to need is cardboard. So we're going to need to put this on a board. That's the printing matrix. That's what they call it in an artist term. So start gathering your cardboard. I'm going to be using this piece of tag board. You can use paper scraps, like this is from a cracker box, from a Triscuit box. So any kind of cardboard here is one. So you're going to need something a little bit more sturdy than just a plain piece of paper for the matrix, for the printing matrix, for the underneath layer. Okay. Another couple of cool things that will look really cool when we create our collagraph would be ribbon, any type of paper you're going to need, foil, newspaper, plastic, saran wrap. Those kind of things are going to make your textures look really cool. And then also some scissors. So take a moment to gather these things because you're going to need them. Okay, let's put this down. Okay, so I've already made a little practice guide so we can test out some of these textures. Okay, so what I did before I started this video was I glued down some interesting things that I found laying around. So this is a piece of foil. This is tissue paper that's just crumbled up and I brushed glue over top of it. This is a circle and a triangle that I cut out. This is like a little piece of a manila folder. This is just plain white everyday paper, printing paper. Here's some more manila folder. I just cut out just like a shape from my cardboard. And then here is a piece of twine string. And then again, some more ribbon here. This is some plastic. So I just had a plastic bag. I cut a little piece of it and I glued that down. This is a paper towel. So these are the kind of things that you need. Our project is not going to look like this. I just glued this down so we can test out some of what the designs are going to look like when we do our Collagraph rubbing. Okay, so here's what you... All right, so we're back, and I wanted to, before we even start making our Collagraph printing matrix, I wanted to rub over top of some of these textures to give you guys an idea of what you'd like to use. So I already went over what these things are. Now, this is dry, so I'm going to rub over top of these. Just watch this part. Don't feel like you need to make this right now. I just want to show you what some of these rubbings are going to look like when we use the paper over top and the crayon to rub these textures. So just think of like a leaf rubbing. We're going to be putting the paper over top and then getting a crayon and rubbing over top. Okay? I found these crayons laying around. I peeled the paper off of them. Okay? I would use a little bit of a darker color, like green, blue, purple. If you use yellow or orange or something really light, you might not be able to see the design that well. Okay, so let's give our tester page let's test out our tester page. Okay, so we've got, you guys can see that pretty well. All right, so let's test out the foil. Let's see what that looks like. So I'm going to put my paper over top. This is just regular white printing paper. You can use any type of paper. So I'm going to put that down, hold it steady, and rub over top. Notice how I'm keeping my guide hand on the paper. Now look at how cool that looks. So if you like this texture, you want to gather some foil. All right, let's test out the ribbon. This is notebook paper that I ripped out of a notebook page and some ribbon. Let's see what those look like. Oh, and then we've got our plastic over here. Let's test out and see what those look like. I'll use a different color this time. I always kind of break the crayon. I think it's a little easier on the hand. All right, so here's our ribbon. Here's our plastic piece, which kind of looks similar to the foil. And then we've got our little paper scrap here and our ribbon. Okay, those turned out really cool. So typically, if you were in a printmaking studio, what people do to these collagraphs is they put ink over top of them and press down the paper. But you guys, I know, don't have ink because I don't even have ink at my house, so a rubbing will do just fine. Okay, now let's test out some of these paper ideas because I have a feeling that most of you are just going to have paper at home. Okay, let's test this out over here. So this is just a geometric shape. I'll use the brown. Just cut any type of shape. So for my kindergartners that are watching, just cutting out simple squares, rectangles, triangles, circles, that will do the trick. And it just has such a beautiful artistic quality to it because you can just see how the edges have that slight tint of shading to it. And the crayon did a really nice job bringing out the shape. Okay, and then I'm going to test out what my paper towel looks like. I just glued on a little scrap piece of paper towel. Let's see what that looks like before we even start our collage. Or I'm sorry, our collagraph. Okay, so not too noticeable, but still there's a texture in there. Okay, so I'll give you guys another second to look at how some of these turned out. So I want you guys to use majority of your paper cardboard scraps. And for my younger students, make sure you find something that's easy enough for you to cut. Like I said, just overlapping paper and gluing it down is enough. For some of the older students, you guys can be brave and use some of these more difficult textures to cut out. Because I do I know that some of these cardboard pieces might be a little bit tricky to cut out. All right, so now back to our, I wanted to share one quick thing about the history of collagraphs. So let me just read this because I just found this on the internet. A collagraph was introduced in 1955 by Glenn Alps, and it is a printmaking process in which materials are applied to a surface. The word is derived from the Greek word kol or kala, meaning glue, and graph. So we know that kala means glue or graph. So we're putting together a collagraph. So that involves glue, paper. I just thought that was kind of interesting to share that the word collagraph came from the Greek word kol, which means glue. Okay, so I thought that was an interesting little fact.